we've been in this position before. We were able to get the win here at Atlanta. That's big, and you know, there's just a lot to be learned still with this new rules package and how it's going to play out at some different racetracks. It's still a lot to learn, and it gives us a great opportunity to maybe explore a little bit more. And you know, as we saw some different cars and how they ran today, I've got some ideas already, so we're excited about it.
I got out of the car and I was like, how'd the 2 win? And they said that basically he caught that yellow and he was one other guy didn't go a lap down. So, you know, I thought he had a car similar to what we had. We kind of ran around him a lot today, and you just need a track position. I mean, as always, no different, but seemed to be a little bit more of an advantage today. So I don't think today is a good judge. You don't really, I mean, it's kind of an odd race, seemed like, especially for us. We were kind of in and out of it all day, but it's going to take a few weeks to really tell. I can't get a feel for it.
You look at Fontana, surface very similar to this, bigger track, but you know there's something to be said about the bumps, what we did to combat that, what we were doing about Queen Air. So it was definitely something we'll apply towards Fontana and a little bit towards Vegas.
Our run wasn't pretty. You know, I knew our car had great speed, obviously from practices and things like that, qualifying. You know, racing's a different beast, especially at Atlanta. Trying to figure out the right scenario for this is going to be interesting, because you got to remember, this is a one-off race. I mean, there's no other track we go to anymore that's as slick as this and as hard on tires. So it'd be interesting to see again what Las Vegas brings.
At times it was a little, you know, I was getting frustrating at times because traffic was a big deal and track position was a huge deal as well. And racers, I hope you guys enjoyed at home because they were crazy. I love racers. At times I was screaming to myself on the helmet. So I feel like it was a decent day for us. We have to keep working hard and build from this.
It's just when you got loose, the car would correct itself, and it took away a lot of that exit fun. You know, I'm so used to horsepower, and these things choke down on the horsepower. It wasn't as much of a challenge on corner exit.
What is it like in the pack then with that little less horsepower and with the aero rules?
It's pretty wild. You know, you gotta juke around, make right moves, and you don't want to kill your momentum.
It was pretty wild. I think that's fair to say. With the every time I looked up in 3 and 4 wide. So we talked about Brad Keselowski obviously went to victory lane, but he wasn't the other guy. I think Kurt Busch right there, 3rd place run with Chip Ganassi Racing, back in a Chevrolet. I have to look at this team and think this was a win to run this well at Atlanta so early in the season.
Okay, before I say how good a job he did, I want to say, Jet, we might ought to get our uniforms and helmets back if we got self-correcting cars.
I was wondering.
I never had one of those.
Yeah.
It was right there, man. Let's do this again. No, Kurt Busch did a phenomenal job. I think the way this team has come out of the box, that says a lot of good things about them and what they're going to be able to do. And I really think that this type of racing fits his style a lot. It's about momentum. We've talked about his brother Kyle, that in the Xfinity cars over the years, how momentum, how good he is in keeping that. And I think Kurt does the same things. And I think that this is going to play into his strengths, and he showed that yesterday.
I think Chip Ganassi Racing has to be happy. I mean, the finish for Kyle Larson wasn't anywhere what it should have been, but he led laps. Looked really good, so I think
spat on pit road, right? That's what hurt the 42.
That's right. I think Chip Ganassi Racing has to be really happy with the performance that they had, the speed that they had. A lot of questions about these rule packages and who can be good and who can't. And I don't care what anybody says. No one knew going down there who was good and who wasn't going to be good. And I think they have to be really, really excited about what they saw.
Well, you mentioned Chip Ganassi Racing, and we heard from Chris Buescher right there, but JTG Doherty has to be ecstatic with the day that they had. Had a decent February down in Daytona. You never know how downforce tracks are going to go. But at a moment there, 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th, we saw a lot of Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece up there running well. That technical agreement with Hendrick Motorsports, we're going to get to Hendrick Motorsports a few segments later. They're carrying the banner basically for Chevrolet and that Hendrick Motorsports agreement because they ran really well. Chris did great, and even Ryan Preece's wreck, it was a mistake. It was definitely, a lot went on him. But he ran well, and I like how he handled the wreck in the media.
Well, and Ryan Preece had a good run at Daytona, and we talked a lot about him. He got interviewed a lot, but we all silently were saying, okay, what can he do on a mile and a half? Okay, a lot of people can run well at Daytona, but can't run well. Here you see his day end right here with the misfortune on pit road. You see him look down at the tack, looks up, boom, there's the wreck. But But the fact they came here at a very, very difficult mile and a half, I think it'll be easier for them to run well at Vegas than it will be at Atlanta. And when I talked to him last week, when I talked to Priest last week, he was really optimistic. He said, man, our test at Vegas went well. I feel like I know how these cars need to drive. He felt really good about what they were going to do down there, and their runs proved it. And remember, they get engines from Hendrick, but they build their own chassis. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're building their own chassis. They get engines from Hendricks. And I mean, if you're Rick Hendrick right now, you got to be thinking, what the heck, man? Like, they're outrunning us with their own engines. We got to fix this.
But I liked his interview. I mean, the accident on pit road, we could spend a whole segment talking about that. But in the end, when it was time to speak up, he said, mistake, it's on me. I became a Ryan Preece fan yesterday, not just on the racetrack, but in the interview after the accident.
You know, I've said for a long time that this is a young man has a lot of talent, and all of a sudden, he's been put in a position to showcase that talent because this team is a better team this year with things that they've done, changes that they've made. Now they've got two young drivers that have a tremendous amount of talent and are getting the job done on the racetrack. That was very unfortunate what happened. You know, they'd set themselves up for another really, really good day. And I'm going to be interested to see how far they can carry this in as other teams start to figure these packages out a little bit more at the different tracks, and they're going to make some gains. Can this team continue to make gains and keep their drivers in the mix?
Guys, I'll tell you, the biggest winner in Atlanta, in my mind, is the racetrack and the fans. The forecast was not great. You were there. Saturday it was wet. Sunday turned out to be a beautiful day. A huge walk-up crowd. I mean, it's no secret that Atlanta has hurt in attendance the last few years. I thought the place looked great. More people in the stands than I had seen in recent years, and they got one heck of a race. You mentioned on old tires, it was Atlanta. The best handling cars had an advantage. They drove off the front of the field, as they should. But every restart, I mean, how many drivers do we have to talk to? Crazy, wild. I mean, Daniel Suarez basically said he was screaming at himself in his helmet. I mean, this is what it looked like. Every restart, they were 2 and 3 wide. I think the fans got a great race.
And see Kyle Larson sideways in the middle of the corner. That's, I think, when cars are by themselves and we don't have a lot of action, I think that's what fans want to see as well, as along with 3 wide. But I want to give the fans a shout-out for Saturday. The forecast for Saturday, it rained. They were racing in the rain, man. It rained all day, and the place wasn't full by any means, but a lot of people were there, and it was cool to see that on Saturday, come out to see the Xfinity race and the truck race, because if you looked at the forecast, there was no need to go to the racetrack, and they showed up.
Well, and the first time the doubleheader, right? Trucks and Xfinity on the same day. That's a good package, I think, for the fans who come to the racetrack.
Yeah, I think they got their money's worth down there. And the racing I enjoyed yesterday. I mean, as you said, there were races all over the racetrack for different positions. And as we well know, every point and every position matters. And I think the drivers have some figuring out to do about exactly what it's going to take. And each track is going to be a little bit different.
And that's the key. Like, I like the fact that Atlanta is one kind of race, and Vegas will be another kind of race, and then California will be another kind of race, and Phoenix will be another. That's what this racing has always been about, is variety. If all the races look the same, why go to any particular race? The fact that they're all different, I think, makes this sport unique from every other sport. The track itself. In football, you play on the same field, you play different opponents. In baseball, you play on the same field, different opponents. Basketball, same field, different opponents. Our sport, you race on different racetracks, and you compete against the same opponents. It's a different way of doing it, and the fact that every race is different makes it special, in my opinion. That's how you crown a champion, is you have to get there by being good on a lot of different racetracks, and I love the fact that every race is different.
Hey, NASCAR fans, thanks for checking out the NBC Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe below for the latest NASCAR news, race highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.